What's up, guys? It's Eli with Night Jiu-Jitsu, and I've got a takedown sequence that I like a lot. I learned this a long time ago. I think it's fairly low-risk takedown sequence, and it's got a lot of options off of it, and we're going to look at how to get into it, how to establish the control points to it, all the important details, and some good low-risk takedowns that can really pay off well. So, and this is good for a lot of different modalities, whether it's gi, no gi, more judo-based, more wrestling-based, more submission grappling, even some MMA applications. So if I'm here with Mike, then first thing I want to establish is I'm going to try to get to collar ties and underhooks and all that kind of stuff. So a good way to start doing it here is if we're in a matching lead, then I'm going to start to probe with my rear hand, not my lead hand. Lead hand, the problem with that is he can duck under it easier. He can get access to my lead leg. So I'm keeping that one in here, and I'm going to start posting this way here. So I'm posting either on the shoulder, on the throat, on the forehead, whatever it is, to get him focused on that while this one comes in. I'm not looping this around, but instead I'm wedging it straight in for this collar tie. The collar tie is going to go up toward the base of his skull here this way. Once I get that collar tie established, this hand on the second side, I'm going to either get to the outside tie on his arm or the inside on the bicep tie. Once I get that established, I want to start circling away from the collar tie. So if I circle away from the collar tie, then what that's doing is making it harder for him to establish his balance to be able to get in on my legs again. So now once I have that here on the collar tie, I'm going to punch this one for the underhook. Once I get my underhook established here, now I get my head positioned here. I'm not dropping my head down to make it easy for him to snap me, but instead I'm keeping my head up, looking here across his collarbones with my forehead, filling that space in between his ear and his shoulder. This hand over here is going to stay active because an active arm on this side will keep him from reaching in and trying to get any kind of ties or weak collar grabs or anything of his own. So I'm posting either by the elbow or trying to get the wrist tie. This is essentially setting the position for us. So again, what's essentially happening from here is if we're in this kind of matching lead, I'm probing out here to see what to kind of get his attention on this rear arm. My lead arm that's going to go in and establish the collar tie is going to wedge in this way here. I'm not circling, but rather going inside here this way. Once that happens, I'm going to get a tie here, and I'm going to start circling away here from my collar tie side. Here, I'm going to punch for my underhook. Once I get my underhook established here like this, I get my head position and I monitor on the wrist side over here. So once we have this established, we've got this open stance. Open stance being that we have this opening right here. So we're essentially matching leads where our legs are together on this side, open on this side, big wide open space. That's where he's going to fall when I start to look for takedowns and trips. One of the first things that we look for off of here, once I get myself settled into this position, is I want to go for a big inside trip on this leg, or a big inside, almost like this could be an inner thigh throw, or it could just be more of a reaping kind of throw here like this. Either work and either can have good results, but I just have to know which I'm doing so I know how to follow it up. So if we get into this position here, then whenever I go in, this leg's going to come inside and I want to hit bang this way here, right? Now, if that happens and he falls down, then that's fantastic. It saves me some work and I can start going into my ground positioning and get on top for top pins. Now, what will happen sometimes though is from this position, he won't, but he'll instead, I'll get him off balance that way, but his leg, I won't get him off balance enough to make the throw right there. So I want to have in the chamber, I want to have access to that secondary leg once I get this one out of the way. So what that's going to look like whenever I get into that position where I get him off balance on that leg, I'm going to hit one, post by his ankle two this way, drop down, and then pick up that ankle right here while I'm pushing the whole time with my bicep into his armpit or into his lat. Hopefully this will give me access to start a passing sequence so I don't have to stop and play open guard too much with him right there. Guys, if you feel like you're getting anything out of my content from watching my videos, I'd really appreciate you liking, subscribing, sharing the video if you can, turning on notifications so you know whenever I upload new ones. And as always, I appreciate the support very much. I may miss that second leg as well. I may go here, boom, one, step in, but he steps out of this one as well, and he hops his hips back. So now he's got a little bit more space between our hips like this. What can result from here that's pretty good is because whenever he hops his hips back, his posture has to lean over this way, right? He's not going to be as upright. Because of that happens, I'm going to take this hand off and I'm going to switch back to a collar tie, and I want to go for a snap right here and snap him to the floor. Once I get that snap and we wind up in this kind of turtle position where he's posted on all fours, hopefully, then I can start going into work on front headlocks. I've got other videos where we look at chokes of different kinds, anacondas, guillotines, Darces, all kinds of stuff. From here, we can do that. Or I can start looking at going behind him by posting on the outside arm and getting around to the back if I want to start looking at moving toward his back, or just keeping him in that turtle position for whatever reason. If I feel like his arm is really loose and light on this side, and that may also be that he's trying to like start to reach around my head, like he wants to start a headlock or something, or try to get a hold of my neck. If I feel like that's a tendency or that's the case, another option that I might have from there is, instead of stepping in and hitting here, is actually pendulum, like doing this little pendulum shift like this, and then tossing this arm behind him. So what that will look like is, from here, when I feel that arm kind of floating and being light, then I'm gonna go here and throw that arm by, and I'm gonna try, if I can, to keep that wrist. If I can keep the wrist with that hand and then come around and get the outside tie on his arm here like this, then this is a pretty good little rear clinch here. I can start leading him in to different foot sweeps and things like that. And I have lots of different takedowns we can do from the back, but the main thing is getting us to that back sequence. If from this position here, I step in, I'm a little shallow, and he steps right back in front of me like this, then all is not lost from here. I can still maybe do a throw by, or oftentimes what will happen, he won't stay leaned over too much. He'll plant that foot, and he's going to start posturing up because he's going to tend to want to turn back and face me. Knowing that, and knowing that that's what's going to happen when that foot lands, I can take advantage of that and make a little foot sweep happen off of that. So what that will tend to look like is, I get in here, I go here, he steps out, and then I'm going to hit that foot sweep right there to make the takedown as soon as that foot starts to land. So I don't want him to plant it and start getting his posture back and rotating to face me and everything like that. But I do want to know that those things are probably going to happen. And so as soon as that steps down, I'm going to hit with the bottom part of my foot here, back of his Achilles tendon like this. And I'm going to pull from that shoulder in the back this way here. So he's lost that post, and he's going to fall right in that little pocket that we created off of that. If we get in this position here and we're playing, and I'm not feeling very accessible about getting in on any of these trips, this big inside trip, the ankle pick, anything like that, and plus he's starting to give me a little bit of trouble with this, my underhook is starting to sag a little bit, and he's starting to get strong on his overhook. Yeah, I don't like that. So what I'm going to do instead, if you look here, because he's starting to cam my elbow down, right? I want to start to like let my arm drop down his back a little bit. I don't want to stay up here and have him wrench on my shoulder like this. So instead, I'm going to put my hand toward his back, and I'm going to pry my elbow out. You see, this is creating leverage and a wedge here that's going to help me do two things. One, it's going to stop him from wrenching my arms. Two, it's going to also help with a new posture break. So this is going to be the off balance preceding a different kind of throw. So when we get there, and I feel that happening, and I put my hand on his back to wedge my elbow out. Now, getting that grip over on his far side lat, because I got my arm in deeper, I'm gonna start to step my hips inside here this way, right? I've already got his posture broken, so that's the off balance. I'm bringing his nose over his toes, and I'm pulling this arm across. So I'm misaligning his shoulders and his hips, and that's creating the kazushi, or the off balance that I need to precede a throw. And you can step in for things like hip throws off of here. You can step in for harai goshis. You can step in for a lot of different types of throws off of that. So that's another element of that. Whenever I feel like I'm not doing a good enough job with my underhook and he's starting to win that battle, I'm going to post, wedge the elbow out, get the far side lat, step my hips inside here this way, and I'm trying to bring my tailbone to his far side quad. That means that he's not going to be able to kip out of this very easily, and I'll be able to elevate him and make the throw. So the throw off of that looks like this here. So when I go in, I step here, and then I make the throw this way. And if I keep the wrist, this is good because it helps to rotate him out the way I want him to fall. And then I'm also going to be able to go into my top pins, knee on belly, side control, whatever you got after that. So guys, that takedown sequence right there, I learned it a long time ago from, I learned it actually in Silat the first time I ever learned it. Then I learned it from a couple wrestling friends, and I've seen it repeated over and over during the ages, from everywhere from Judo to Jiu-Jitsu to catch wrestling. And so it's a very solid fundamental sequence that's very low risk. And if you can get yourself into that position, then you've got a lot of options from there. So I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what kind of results you have from it and what other kind of things you can do off of there. I know there's a lot of other takedowns I didn't even cover because I feel like they're a little higher risk, but those are some of fundamentals. But let me know, and I'd be happy to address those in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. As always, like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff, and I appreciate you.